So I
Yeah.
completely agree with that. That's really good advice.
In fact, one of my greatest failures was actually one of my mentor relationships. I reached out to Jack Stack of SRC, Springfield Manufacturing Corporation, and they're a multi-billion-dollar enterprise at this point between all the different businesses that they have, and they have such a cool model. I read his book, The Great Game of Business, way back when. And I loved it. There were so many principles there that I wanted to embrace myself, and his open book management concept was really, really amazing. And his commitment to kind of the ownership mentality in his team. And so I reached out to him, and I called and I called and I called and I called. And I think it was probably 6 or 7 times he finally gave me an audience. Well, he agreed to mentor me. Once a month, I got together with Jack Stack, which is insane.
It is insane.
And I've learned a lot more from him retrospectively, remembering what he said, than I was actually listening to and hearing. Because what ended up happening is 19, 20-year-old me was getting together with Jack Stack, who has, like, at that point, 40 years of experience. And I would argue with him about stuff. And instead of listening to the good, because even to this day, I don't agree with Jack Stack on every single point, right? But I was sitting before a clarion of business wisdom and experience, and instead of listening and receiving with humility, I argued. And after 6 months, Jack finally said, "Well, Kurt, you seem to know what you're doing, so I don't know if we should meet anymore." And I was dumbfounded because I was totally blind to my own arrogance at that time. And I was like, "Wait, what do you mean? Like, why aren't we meeting?" It's like, "Well, you just seem to have things figured out." And he never went with me or talked to me ever again.
Wow.
And it's one of my greatest sadnesses is that, one, I missed out on a lot of really great mentorship, but two, frankly, far more than that, was that I recognized after the fact, wow, I treated such an amazing guy really badly. And that actually hurt a whole lot more than missing out on the mentorship. But that was a really big failure for me. I have very few regrets in my life. That's actually one of them. I regret not listening to Jack Stack.
Yeah, and I could see that for sure. But obviously it's something that you've learned the lesson, and I assume you try and apply that lesson for future.
No doubt. I mean, now ears wide open, right?
Yeah.
Like, one word of speaking for every 5 words of listening, and the one word that I speak is usually a question.
Exactly. And I think it's funny too, because I've done it before where I feel like I know a subject through and through, and I ask someone who maybe doesn't know as much in the area, but like they say one thing and I'm like, I've never thought about it in that way before. So I've learned to try and listen more, even if I feel like I know all there is to a subject. There's usually just one nuance that I can pick up from a lot of different people. So I think that's a great lesson.